Hi, this is Captain Drew Cavanaugh with Florida Inshore Fishing Charters and Mosquito Lagoon Sight Fishing Charters located here in East Central Florida on the world famous beautiful Mosquito Lagoon. East Central Florida, New Smyrna Beach, Oak Hill, Titusville, Cocoa Beach, Daytona. I'm on one of my ponds here on my property, and I'm going to show you some basic casting and how to use a spinning rod outfit for redfish, trout, black drum, and flats fishing here in Central Florida. The first few videos that I did were kind of generalized and all that, and I wanted to do something that's located, you know, a little bit secluded inshore, you know, location here where I can show you a few casting techniques and all that, how we do out here. I'm using a Shimano Sustain 2500 FE reel on a St. Croix Legend Elite rod, 7-foot medium light rod, backed with 8-pound mono, then 100 yards of 10-pound, 12-pound, 15-pound Power Pro braid. Then of course I've got the fluorocarbon leader here, then a DOA lure and weightless and a bullet hook, or bullet weight and a weighted hook, a weedless hook. When we're out here throwing at these fish, there's times that these fish are right on the other side of this grass line right here. We're not going to be throwing 50 feet out there, 100 feet out, letting bait set and all that. We're going to be looking for fish a lot. And a lot of times when we see these fish, it'll be like, okay, there's a fish right there, you're going to make a cast to him. One thing that you can always do while flats fishing, is I'll get a little bit closer, is you can see the bail. That bail should always flip exactly like this. Never like this, never like this. Definitely not like this, because look what happens to that line. I don't know if you can see that. That line is now on this side of the bail, and if you don't realize that, catastrophic events can happen. So when I'm sitting out here flats fishing, and when I'm going by myself with a colleague or a friend or whatever, one thing I do is I always stand here with my rod open, or the rod in my hand, and the bail open. It's just a habit. It's like having that bullet in the gun and the hammer back. It's one less thing you have to worry about when you see a fish. When you're casting to these fish, take your time, take a couple deep breaths, but make sure that you process the information. If you see a fish, or when your guide sits there and says, hey Tom, we got 2 redfish at 2 o'clock, 23 feet, 24 feet in front of us, 30 feet, they're moving to the left. Take your time, take a few seconds to acquire your target. That will pay off so much if you just take your time. Just like shooting a deer, don't just lift up and squeeze the trigger. Take a deep breath, take that extra split second to take your time and acquire your target. That will help you a lot. Other thing, when your bail's open, you notice I'm not pinching this line like this. That line is not pinched. I'm barely holding it. And you can see that line will stay right there. Easy, doesn't fall. Matter of fact, I can go down a little bit more, it doesn't fall. When we're making casts to these fish, another thing that you can do is I want you to throw two-handed. It will help you with your accuracy. Now watch the accuracy and the more control I have over the lure here when I do two-handed. A lot more, I can bring it right across the center, get my rod up in the air, and bam, I let it drop right there. That's going to help you with sight fishing. Hence the word out here. We're looking for these fish. This water on the lagoon is an average of 2, 3, 4 feet deep, 18 inches, 12 inches. So when we're throwing to a fish, there's times that you throw, I want you to get your bait up in the air like that, real easy. You don't have to crank it too hard. I can see where that bait's at in relative position to the fish's mouth. You can see where the bait's at in relative position to the fish's mouth. I think I had a little bass sit there and hit it. The other thing that you can do is if you get grass on it or something like that, one thing I want you to do is if you throw out there and say you bring it in and grass, you're coming in, you get a little bit of grass on it. One thing I watch people do, and I did this in the other videos, is I watch them do this. They're just reaching for that, and they're stretching and stretching. That drives me crazy. When you're sight fishing, I'm gonna do a side view here. Sight fishing, I see a fish out there. You look away, illusions will happen. The water will play tricks on your eyes. Don't look away. Keep your eyes focused. Watch. I'll throw out there, I'll miss the fish. I'll reel in, my eyes are not off that fish, I'm still looking out there. I've got grass on the line. What I can do is I can do that and rest the rod there. I still look out there and I can still see the fish. I get the grass off, I let it go. My eyes are still on the fish. I can rotate the bail by hand, flip it to the right. I still have not taken my eyes off that fish, and I can still make a cast to it and get it right on target. That will help you. It's like practicing anything in life. Music, basketball, golf, cooking, whatever. The more you do it, the more you'll get better at it, or the better you'll get at it, rather. The other thing is that when you're throwing at these fish, a soft presentation. We're not throwing heavy baits out here. You don't have to come back and launch this thing like this. If you watch how I'm casting this spinning reel, this is a light tackle. I use this to crappie fish sometimes. I use it to bass fish. I use it for redfish, trout, black drum. Use it for ladyfish, jacks. I've caught small tarpon on this. I do not have to launch this rod and reel back like a catapult to get it out there. If you watch, I'm going to keep my torso still. The only thing that's going to move is from my elbows down. I'll go out there and I just threw that thing a good 60, 70 feet. It's just a matter of putting a little bit of energy behind it and focusing on what you're doing, and it will work. This is not rocket science. This is not hard. This is very, very easy to do. On an average trip out here, we see sometimes anywhere between a few hundred fish to thousands. It's April right now. The past few weeks, my clients have seen, there was one day we probably saw 3,000–4,000 redfish. We saw individual pods of redfish, 200 here, 300 here, 500 here, 80 there. And if you take your time to acquire your target, when you're throwing at these fish, process the information, stealth, patience, distance I like to say, because I don't want you to wait 10 feet from the boat. The further you could throw out there, the better. And then accuracy. If you don't hit that target, it just doesn't count. The tail does not eat. The more that you can throw, the further that you can get to them, the more chances you might have to be able to reel it in and throw again. So what I want you to do is just, if you're out there and you want to learn how to practice this thing, first thing you can do is always train yourself to stand there with the bail open. I could stand here all day and talk to somebody, I could walk around, I could do this, I could do that. Look at that, I'm ready. So when you're standing on the bail, the bow of a boat, all of a sudden you can sit there and get the cast out, get it in there in a split second, almost like a duck hunter. Hunters I get along with because there's a lot of analogies. You make a lot of noise, you jump up and down, the deer, duck, whatever, animal, turkey's gonna run away. Duck hunters, if you sit there and look at that duck in the air as it's flying over and you say, wow, look at that duck, man, it's a pretty duck, I'm gonna shoot that duck. By the time you said that, he's gone. That duck is way out of reach. What do? Your shells aren't in your pocket, they're in the gun. They're loaded in the barrel, the hammer's cocked. Same thing there. Your barrel is loaded, this thing's cocked, ready to go. Soft presentation. When you're casting out here and you're throwing at fish, you don't want that splash, that hammer down, that noise right there. These fish will run. Like I said, the average depth on the Mosquito Lagoon is very shallow. This is not hard at all to do. It's just different for some people. It's different to do this type of fishing. A soft presentation. You cast, get it out there. Real easy. You can see how that's on top of the water when it's near the fish. All of a sudden you just let it drop, kind of twitch it a little bit, and bam. It's just that easy right there. So that's a quick overview of casting. The other thing is, when you're standing on the bow of a boat, when you're with your guide, and I'm talking specifically flats fishing, obviously I specialize in the Mosquito Lagoon. Try to keep still, try to keep your feet still. There's no reason to move up and down the boat like this. I mean, the boat's only 3–4 feet across, 5 feet across, 17 feet long. If this is the bow facing this way, 12 o'clock, the engine's 6 o'clock, 11, 12, 1. Your guide sits there and says, hey, Bob, there's 2 fish at 10 o'clock. Turn your torso, turn your body. Hey, 2 o'clock, there's fish. You don't need to turn like this. You don't have to do that. You can rotate your body this way, and you can make casts to adjust, The only thing that's on these fish's mind is death from above. It's so shallow, things fall on top of them, and it's going to happen. That's just part of the nature out here. So, well, that's a quick overview on what to do, what to work on. Your best bet is if you have access to water, even your backyard, you can sit there and just throw at a bucket. You can throw, you know, if you're in the snow, you can throw across snow. Just tie on a lure without any hooks on it. You can practice this year-round. A little bit of practice goes a long way. I mean, you can sit there and see right where my rod pointed, that lure went. That's the object. This is your gun. That was the bullet. It comes straight out of the gun to the target. The rod tip doesn't stop there, and the lure doesn't go over there. Timing. That's called you releasing your finger too early, or you stopping the rod too early and then releasing your finger. Then it goes that way or it goes down. So I guess the word of the day is practice. It doesn't take much. A couple casts, a few hundred casts, which goes in 10-15 minutes anywhere, will work. So again, it's Captain Drew Cavanaugh with Florida Inshore Fishing Charters, located here in East Central Florida on the beautiful Mosquito Lagoon. And I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.